What is going down, Sourdough Squad? It has been an interesting week. It feels like it's been about 6 days since the game on Sunday, with all the conversations back and forth surrounding the San Francisco 49ers, because there's a lot of doom and gloom out there. We've had our fair share as well, but let's take a look. Let's do a deeper dive to see, is it really over, and should we hit the panic button, or is this just more of the same? Patience is a virtue. Let's see what it's going to take to get back on track. And if the San Francisco 49ers can, in the meantime, smash that like button and drop a SDS in the chat. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Hopefully, you guys are having a phenomenal Tuesday. Shout out all the SDS, all the bread gang. It's good to see you guys. I know there's been a lot of conversation back and forth amongst ourselves, the content community, national media, and everything like that. We got some new things that dropped this morning that's caused quite a bit of a conversation. So we'll talk about that. But the main points that we're going to discuss today is this season trending really in the wrong direction? Because it is week 3, right? So we understand that there's a lot of games left. I will constantly say the real football doesn't start until at minimum week 5, because I think the first 4 weeks are an extended preseason for the starters. Now with the San Francisco 49ers, it's even more of an extended preseason because of the way Jimmy Garoppolo got thrust into the mix. Now you got the situation with the injury to Trent Williams. So there are a lot of concerning factors, and we're going to take a look at them all. But the biggest question that we're going to dive into today is it bleak? Is it over? Or do we think there is an opportunity and a track to get it back in the right direction? So we're going to dive into all those different things today, especially with the primetime game with the Rams. Right now, it's either going to be a blessing or an absolute curse that the San Francisco 49ers get 2 primetime games back to back. Because we know what the outcome of was the last primetime game, the Sunday Night Football game. The entire world got to watch the absolute, I don't know, punt-ageddon, like with the 11-10 loss to the Denver Broncos. Um, you know, it was not a good game. Let's keep it 100. It was a really poor game, not only from the San Francisco 49ers, but from the Denver Broncos as well. Mostly offensively. I feel like the defenses did a really good job for the most part. 49ers defense did a phenomenal job. And I think that's really what it comes back to. When we look, and we'll get into the conversations about Kyle Shanahan, we'll get into the conversations about Jimmy Garoppolo, as there was some stuff to hit the timeline today. We'll talk about it, I promise. But the saving grace here is the San Francisco 49ers defense is absolutely phenomenal. And I think the defense is only going to get better. When we look at, we had no Eric Armstead against the Denver Broncos, no Jimmy Ward. Jason Verrett is right around the corner from potentially returning. I know we don't put a ton of eggs into the Jason Verrett basket just because we understand he does have an injury history, but we also understand if Jason Verrett comes back and is playing at a high level, then things are going to be very much improved, even on the back end of this defense. And we know Jimmy Ward, once he's back, is really going to be just another level added to this defense. This defense still has an opportunity to ascend, and that is a good thing. So starting with the defense. I say it all the time. Defense wins championships. All right. Now, the defense needs at least a competent, somewhat competent offense for that to really get going. But it still remains to be true. These defenses, if you can own the line of scrimmage with that defensive line, there's a lot of good things that can come from it. So I still hold out hope that the D'Amico Ryan led San Francisco 49ers defense will continue to ascend as they get more pieces back. Now, they did lose Aziz Al-Shair for a couple weeks, and that's going to be a big loss. Um Wait, what? Oh, sorry. Squirrel. Um but I still think there's plenty of optimism surrounding the 49ers defense, right? The defense can get better. The defense can improve. And but this is where it becomes difficult because based on what we've seen out of the San Francisco 49ers offense so far is that the 49ers defense can maybe give up one score a game as we see it right now. Maybe that changes later on down the road, but as it stands right now, this 49ers defense has to be lights out to give this team a shot. And I think they're capable of that. So that is a positive, right? They are capable of that. I think they can do it. So that gives the San Francisco 49ers offense, Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo, the offensive line, the weapons that they have to hopefully get this thing figured out. Now, was it going to be perfect against the Denver Broncos? Probably not. Did we expect there to be bumps and bruises? Yeah, we did. Not as many though that we got. The the bumps and bruises, the safety seen around the world that is continuing to be discussed. That was a tough one. That was a tough one. Whose fault was that? I think you have to fault Jimmy Garoppolo on that, just on spatial awareness and stuff like that. But you had Kyle Shanahan come out after the game, take credit for calling a bad play in that scenario. Again, absolutely wild that the safety became the best outcome of that particular play because if he didn't step out of bounds, it would have been a pick six and it would have been even worse. So the safety ended up being arguably one of the better outcomes of that play. Um, and I know it's been a heavy focus. Also today, why not? We'll show it. I know I see the chat talking about it. So I'll pull it up here. But of course, I think one of an SDS member as well, if I'm not mistaken. Uh BNA Music found a video that went viral today and has got everyone talking about it. So, as a result, we will talk about it as well. Let's pull it up for all the people to see. And again, shout out BNA. I like to believe he is a faithful member of the SDS, but he came across this video. And again, if you do your best uh, rip lip reading impressions, doesn't seem like Jimmy Garoppolo is very happy with the play calls that are being drawn up here. It can be interpreted into a bunch of different ways, but it really does look like he says these plays suck, man. And if that is to be true, again, we don't really know, but again, do your best lip reading impersonation as possible. It really does look like he is saying these plays suck, man. Which would be an indication and a direct slight at Kyle Shanahan. So that's what's trending on Twitter today amongst the 49ers world. Wouldn't have it any other way, right? It wouldn't be San Francisco 49ers fandom if we didn't find something to to pile on and add on to the current dysfunction that we have going. Um, I think we can all agree that if we look at the San Francisco 49ers offense as a whole, we can look at multiple levels of issues. And again, what we're going to be talking about today is how do they get this back on track? Well, we'll talk about Kyle and we'll talk about Jimmy more because obviously that's going to be one of the main points of emphasis, but we got to talk about this offensive line. We really do. We have to talk about this offensive line. Now, they showed promise. You know, you could see signs that they were getting there. They could get better against Chicago. Against Seattle, they did get better. And then it felt like against Denver, they kind of took a step backwards. And on top of taking a step backwards as a unit, the entire offensive line, Trent Williams goes down for the year. Huge, huge loss. Arguably, probably the biggest loss you could ask for this team. Um, and when I look at it, I do think we are going to need to see Daniel Brunskill starting sooner rather than later. I don't know where that's going to be. I feel okay with Colton McKivitz at left tackle. I think Colton McKivitz is more than serviceable. We've seen him do it before, but those guys are going to have to really pick it up in the run game because at the end of the day, this team needs to run the football. We need to run the football. Not only do we need to run the football, where is Jordan Mason? Why can't Jordan Mason get touches? I don't know what it is. Is pretty soon we might have to be talking about Jordan Mason in the doghouse if this guy can't get carries because I don't know why Jordan Mason isn't getting the opportunity to at least show what he's capable of. So I think he needs to get more opportunities for sure. Um, Corey says Mason was fourth string for a reason. Yeah, he was an undrafted free agent. You got to work your way up the depth chart. He needs to get opportunities, and you're going to see why he's going to need to get opportunities. You don't have to agree with me now, but once you see Jordan Mason get opportunities, then you're going to be like, okay, yeah, he should have been getting opportunities a lot sooner. So Jordan Mason needs to be integrated into the run game as well. You have issues up front. Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford. I know we like to make, I like Spencer Burford a lot. I think Spencer Burford has an immensely high ceiling, and he's going to be a really good offensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers. But he is still struggling. He's still trying to learn the small nuances of these run schemes, where to get proper leverage, when to pass off stunts, and things like that. I would say probably that game against the Broncos was one of Burford's lesser games of his career. Again, it's only his third game of his career up until this point. But he had some issues. McGlinchey had some issues. Everyone had issues on that line up front. This team, from an offensive standpoint, again, needs to run the football. And if they're going to run the football, they need the offensive line up front to look like a well-oiled machine, and they look a little disjointed against the Denver Broncos. Is it the end all be all? No, they can get it figured out, and I think they really can. But I really do think that they are going to have to put Daniel Brunskill into the starting lineup because they need the experience there. Again, say what you want about Daniel Brunskill. He's not going to win every rep. He's not going, he will get overpowered at times, but he does not make mistakes and in regards to assignment sound football. And right now, we have some assignment miscues going on up front, and it's not translating into the best case scenario for these runners up front. And we know if the 49ers are going to get this back on track from an offensive standpoint, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to need that run game to be going to pick up and then work play action, then work the passing game off of that. Then I think we have a better shot of getting back on track. But right now, you guys already know how I am. I think it all starts up front. And I think this 49ers offensive line, they took a step back against the Broncos. And I would like to see them take a step forward against the Rams. And they have a big test. They are going to see Aaron Donald. So another reason why I want to see Daniel Brunskill on that offensive line, because we know at least Daniel Brunskill can do a more than serviceable job against the best player in football right now. And once we can get the offensive line shored up from an assignment sound standpoint, we get more chunk runs, then it's time to start getting the ball into the hands of your playmakers. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Jawan Jennings. Hell, would love to see Danny Gray out there. That would be nice as well. So I do think there's an opportunity for these guys to figure it out. Now, it's going to take some time. I don't necessarily think that it's just they're going to snap their fingers and everything's going to just work offensively against the Rams. Thankfully for the San Francisco 49ers, they have a phenomenal defense to rely on. I think that offensive line from the Rams can be penetrated 100% with the talent that they have. So I also think they're going to keep them in this game, and we have to see what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do on the offensive side. So this, again, brings the conversation back to Kyle Shanahan, to Jimmy Garoppolo, and getting back on track. I truly believe this season and the success of the offense and everything else is going to 100% hinge on those two making this work. If Jimmy Garoppolo truly did say that, and he truly did say these plays suck, which is, it can happen. You know, players don't have to love everything that the San Francisco, what the coach is going to do. But they need to figure this out. They need to figure it out. We know what Jimmy Garoppolo is. We know what the limitations are with Jimmy Garoppolo, but they have to figure something out schematically. And it all starts, in my opinion, with the run up front. It all starts with the offensive line up front. They got to play cleaner football. They didn't play good. I don't think they played clean ball against the Broncos. But again, the things that I saw, you can correct, you can fix, and you can get better. We'll see how long Brendel will stay in. I don't know if the 49ers feel good about Brendel or not. I think they feel okay, but it will be interesting to see if Brunskill is healthy enough to go if they make that switch. And again, I've been pretty critical about the offensive line rotation thus far. And one of the reasons why Brunskill got hurt is because he pulled a hammy week 1 against Green Bay. after getting cold. He basically went in for one play, I think, before the second half, and was cold and got and pulled his hamstring. Chris says, no matter how good the O line plays, Jimmy needs to make better decisions with the football, but can he? Well, this is the thing. It's like we see it from both sides. Where I broke down a play earlier on Twitter where you could absolutely see that you had the safety in Robber come down and absolutely take away the slant from George Kittle. But unfortunately, what we don't see from Jimmy Garoppolo, at least up until this point, is we don't see him identify those things. Like, I never played quarterback, but just using my knowledge of football and what I see, I've always been taught to believe you gotta understand where the safeties are. It's one of the first things that you have to identify as a quarterback. Where are the safeties? Are they in two high? Are they single high? Do you have a safety in the box? Where are the safeties? Because safeties are either disguising and or telling you what coverage they're going to get into. And then I think from that point on, what we've seen from Jimmy is it just doesn't feel like he identifies the safeties, in the sense of the safeties that play against Jimmy Garoppolo come into the box, even if they show uh, they're in, like, let's say, a cover two shell or something like that, where you got two safeties high. They always rotate one under, and it feels like they're always bringing a safety down because they understand they're going to be running a slant concept, and Jimmy's going to try to bang it on them right away. The thing is, it's like we know that's coming. As fans, we know it's coming. So at what point do we see Jimmy use that to his advantage? That's the next thing that I want to see with this offense. They know you're gonna try to bang it on them within a 5 to 7 yard in breaking route. They know that's coming, so take advantage of it, because you more often likely than not are going to either get one-on-one coverage, with one of your top tier wide receivers. Take advantage of it. One of the things that I did appreciate, in a sense, was Jimmy was at least still trying to push the ball downfield. Now, it wasn't successful. Missed to Ayuk. He had the back shoulder to Juszczyk. He almost hit Jawan, but that was the play that Jalen Moore just decided not to block anyone, and Jewel got a free shot on Jimmy. So that one was like really hard to put on anyone else other than Jalen Moore for not picking up his blocking assignment. Um, so it ultimately comes down to Jimmy's got to see the field, and they've got to, in my opinion, they got to block better on the offensive line, especially in the run game. Um, and they got to go away from these crossers, man. They're good every once in a while. They're good every once in a while, but the defenses start to pick on it. They see it. They see it coming after you get a couple good uh crossing routes, which Jimmy can hit. It then they then start to squat on it. I want to see a little bit more from that. I'll try to bring up, I'm more of a visual person, so I'll try to bring up the example that I'm talking about here. Let's see, where is the example? Bear with me. Do, 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 do. But it's more like Jimmy didn't have a good game. Let's keep it 100. Like Jimmy didn't play good, but also it's more than just Jimmy. Like the offensive line's got to do a better job, in my opinion. We got to get better running lanes. Let's see, where's that stinking play? Hold on a sec. I agree with and this is the point that I'm trying to make. Like we're putting a lot of emphasis on Kyle and on Jimmy, but it's the whole offense. The whole offense just looks out of sorts. Just looks out of sorts at the moment. Like they had opportunities and they missed the opportunities. So these are the things that we want to see kind of corrected. So for this particular play, this was the one that I broke down. So you can see they're starting off like in a too high look. They motion Ray McLeod into a trips formation on the right. That leaves George Kittle out on an island by himself. You got Patrick Surtain and off coverage. I don't particularly love that matchup to begin with. You know, Patrick Surtain on George Kittle. I think Surtain is a pretty outstanding young cornerback, great length, good size. You can see that if this safety playing the robber role, who is just waiting for anything to break over the middle, he would have picked it. But I also think Sertain would have definitely broken up this pass and maybe even he picks it off. But the 49ers are saved by a DJ Jones tipped play. And so this is just a microcosm. I don't think we saw this, but this is just the things that we've seen going back from last year and other opportunities because you get a busted coverage over here and you got Brandon Ayuk wide open. The one thing that I just want to see from Jimmy Garoppolo, my critique for Jimmy Garoppolo is to see the robber. Like, know this. Like, know that these defenses don't respect you. They're actually going to drop guys into the box to take away your bread and butter, which is short to intermediate, and start keeping alerts on these safeties and what they're doing because I don't see him go eyes here, right? To then like at least hold the safety because at least that's from what I'm told you're supposed to do as a quarterback. You're supposed to keep your eyes on the safety, hold them, and then you come back because that's what safeties are doing. They're reading the quarterback's eyes. You see a glance, but then he comes right back to here. And I think he interprets this wide open areas. He's got a layup pass here, but this would have been picked. You look at how pissed he was. This would have been picked. And so my one critique that I would love to see is to identify these safeties. And then because you're identifying this safety playing the robber role and coming down into the box, that means you know that you have a post concept with Brandon Ayuk and that's going to be one-on-one. And when you get one-on-one, that's when you let it rip. That's when you take your shots. And that's when the big plays come. And I think these are the kinds of plays that I think most people have problems with. But then I think he comes back is it the very next play and then that's a nice pass. So this is the thing with the Jimmy Garoppolo experience is like he he's capable, right? He's capable. Like this pass is a good pass on the money, kind of a layered throw in between coverage, puts it on puts it right where it needs to be. But the play before could have been an unmitigated disaster that should theoretically have been a touchdown, right? So this is the Jimmy Garoppolo experience that I just think that everyone is having a hard time with. It's like, when can we get a little bit more of like seeing the field a little bit better? Because this to me, I don't interpret as him seeing the field, which would have turned into an interception early on if it's not tipped on a play where you have Brandon Ayuk. So again, the reason I'm showing this is I think this play is a microcosm of everyone's anger towards Jimmy Garoppolo after this game. Because I think we expect a 9-year veteran to be able to see the field a little bit better, and be able to identify. Let's see the eyes. Where do the eyes don't even attempt to hold the safety off on the back side. You can see his helmet flashing across. Based on this timing, like, the ball would have hit about right here. That's probably a pick. So they got bailed out. There were some good play actions, and this is why I really want the run game to pick up, because I feel like that's where the 49ers work best, especially in aiding their offensive line, is you get the run game going, and then you can execute these play actions, and then these are the types of throws over the middle that I think are more than acceptable, and actually, in fact, what I want to see. But we gotta get the run game going. We gotta be able to integrate and continue to run the football. That way, we can aid our offensive line with this run action. Again, you get a pulling action from Aaron Banks. You get everyone blocking down. Really helps everyone on the offensive line up front because you have defenses going into run fit mode. They're not pass rushing, they're going into run fits, and they're expecting to run, and then you're getting a similar reaction from everyone else on the back end as well. So I do think they can get this figured out. I do think they can. Do I think it will take some time? 100%. It's going to take some time. Um, Plays like this, obviously, you got to correct this stuff. You can't have this stuff go down. This, again, like I said, I'm not here to ever crap on any of my offensive line brethren. I do want to call it how I see it. This, we got to see the stunt. We have to see the looper. We have to see the looper. And in this relation, Mike McGlinchey is going to step, plant, and block down, but he blocks down into Burford pushing Chubb out, which completely ruins McGlinchey's ability to block down, and that ultimately lets Chubb essentially go free. What Burford has to do here is he's got to stay square and he's got to see the looper coming. Now, it would have been a tough block for McGlinchey to begin with because you could see he would have had his back anyways. But I think based on this relation and the leverage, Jimmy could have flowed over the top. But you can't block down if your own guy is pushing and using Chubb's momentum into you. So that's just we have to get on track with understanding the what it what the rules are, and that is an example of not playing by the rules for the offensive line up front. You got to pass that off. um you guys know I will always talk about stunts up front, and you got to pass that off for sure. I want to talk about this. So this particular play, I think, yep, Defenses are getting they're starting to get an idea of how to stop this run game because if you take a look at this defensive front, you've got watch the relation of these two defensive tackles and these two defensive tackles. They're basically going to slant inside like this, and because they're trying to do essentially like an outside uh running play concept, it forces both Aaron Banks and Trent Williams to come back inside, which collapses the interior and gives Josie Jewell free shot at the running back. So you see how they're slanting in like this? That kind of takes and creates this lane for Jewell to come free, and it clogs everything up front where they can't get to second level. And so I found this one to be really interesting because definitely felt like they figured something out here with slanting like this and having the linebacker flow over the top. So that's something to keep in mind. But overall, it's just I think there's opportunity. Oh, it's just setting up the terrible play. I think there's opportunities for the 49ers to figure this out, but it's going to become immensely harder without Trent Williams. Um, let's see. I think I lost my spot. I wasn't watching Ayuk on that particular play. But what it comes down to is there's still some I still have some hope because a lot of the things that I'm seeing on tape you can correct, you can fix, you can be better at from everyone on the offense. I think overall it just wasn't that great of a performance um, for the 49ers. Offensive line had a bunch of miscues. You had the Jalen Moore situation go down, and Jimmy still, he had some good throws, but he also had some bad throws, and he also had some missed opportunities, and he had some boneheaded plays. So it's a combination. It's a combination of everything. They just got to figure it out, and I think they can because it doesn't look great. It didn't look great against Denver. It didn't. They it was just one of those things where they just felt again disjointed. The rhythm and things like that just wasn't there. If they can figure it out and if they can get it back on track, there is a potential that the offense gets back into a groove. But I really do believe it starts up front. I think they got to run the football better. They got to run the football more effectively because once they start getting into this drop back passing game, I really think that's where the 49ers are going to suffer because I think defenses understand how to play this offense in those situations. And if they get out of what they do best, which is running the football, I feel like defenses know how to either bait Jimmy or uh, get Jimmy to throw to where he wants to be. So, again, I know that game wasn't great. Jimmy Garoppolo's first start, you had the situation with the left tackle. I really think Brunskill needs to be in here. I don't know where. I don't know where. I'm not gonna say where, but I would not be shocked to see Brunskill if he's healthy. Again, he's got to be healthy first. But if he's healthy, I wouldn't be shocked to see him out there against the Rams. I don't know what position that would be. Would it be at center? Would it be at right guard? Could be. Um, but if he's healthy, I think Brunskill is being missed. Um, for again the simple fact that he is so consistent with his responsibilities. You very rarely find Brunskill out of position, and right now we're seeing guys out of position. We're seeing guys not where they need to be, and as an offensive lineman, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not where you need to be and you're not doing what you need to do, then the talent doesn't matter because ultimately you're not doing your responsibilities. You have to be assignment sound as an offensive lineman. I can argue that an assignment sound offensive lineman will play ahead of a more talented offensive lineman. You got to be assignment sound. You got to know what you're doing. You have to know how to pass off stunts. You know how to keep you have to keep your eyes up. You got to be able to see the blitzes. You got to pick up the stunts. You got to do all that kind of stuff. Um Hance, maybe we see Hance. Who knows? I don't know enough about Hance um, to personally have an opinion, but clearly they thought highly of him. So maybe we see Hance as well. Maybe we see both Hance and Brunskill. I don't know. Maybe. But they still have these things on the offensive line that aren't locked in. They're not. Um, I don't know this. That's a good question. Uh, I don't know how many times they ran outside zone. I don't feel like it was a whole lot, to be honest with you. Uh, I saw a lot of the outside runs kind of coming out of I formation, even though there's still, run concepts. Like, so this, I just randomly scrolled over. This looks like an outside zone that I popped up onto. So this looks like an outside zone, either mid zone or out. This looks like a mid zone, but again, not blocked very well up front. You get the penetration on the center. So it looks more like a mid zone based on the angle. For the offensive line, still pretty similar concepts, but definitely more of a mid zone concept. Um, but if you can't block that shaded nose tackle, you're not running anything. So I don't know how much I don't recall seeing a ton of outside zones against Denver. Oof, man, what are we doing here? So these plays are interesting. Again, I don't know what the primary is if Kittle's the primary here. Um, he's absolutely covered. He's actually double covered. You do have Wilson running a Texas route, and it looks like he locks onto it, but then he leads him. But you also have Jawan Jennings down here breaking into if you can bang this upfield against the sideline on the outside shoulder, I would imagine, that's a throw that we could expect from an NFL caliber quarterback. It might not be an easy throw, but I think it's a possible throw. Um, So, oh look, our one our one Jordan Mason run. Let's go. Jordan Mason hive is buzzing. Look at our boy get north south. Look at that. Look at him. 7 yards in a cloud of dust, and then he never sees the field again. Never. How do we get Jordan Mason the ball? Is Jordan Mason in the doghouse? What are we doing, man? Get this man the ball. I really think Jordan Mason runs really, really well, especially on the outside. Um, I would love to see him get more ops. Would love to see him get more ops. The fumble. So Kyle said this was on Brendel, and this makes me believe it's on Brendel because these, I don't know. Aaron Banks clearly goes, but he goes before. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Kyle said it was on Brendel. Oh gosh, do we want to relive this play? Do we, do we want to relive? Man, this one's gonna be on repeat for a while. This one's gonna be on repeat for a while. Again, the safety was actually the best outcome of the play. Oh god, I forgot. This is where Trent got hurt. Ugh. Damn it, man. Ugh. The defining play of the Garoppolo era as of late. Like, just so much bad on this play. Just so much bad. So sad. Lose Trent. Like, was he looking for Kyle, or because he's looking here first. So feels like there's like two screens. All right, where are we? Where'd the play go? Just disappeared. Yeah, I don't know what the hell this is, man. I don't know what the hell. Don't know what we were thinking here because these you got Ayuk going out on a deep crosser. You both have Warner and Juice in the same spot. That's where Kyle looks first, or Jimmy looks first. Then he just throws it. Yeah, dude. This I don't know. I don't know. I didn't mean to bring this play up. It just came up organically. Got to figure out how to get Debo going. Uh, Teams have been all over stopping Debo at this point. Just haven't really been able to get Debo too free as of late. This play I talked about earlier. Uh, what are we doing, man? What are we doing, man? It hurts. It hurts. Uh, Jalen doesn't pick up the blitzer, gets rocked. I mean, he gets the ball there. Jawan can't bring it in cleanly before he steps out. So we're close, man. We're close. Like, I appreciate the fact that Jimmy's throwing deep outside the numbers here and puts it on target, but just can't bring it in. So I get it. Like, it's that that tape wasn't great. There were good moments in that tape, but there are also a lot of bad moments in that tape. So I would love to be a fly on the wall, listen to them break that down in real time just to see what their thought processes were on it and how they were what they were thinking. Um yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So, how do they get this back on track? Jimmy, Kyle, and the run game. It's what it's going to come down to. Uh Agreed. Not no quarterback is escaping that. no quarter no quarterback is is escaping that. Doesn't matter who the quarterback was. Um so like I said, if they can correct some things, if they can clean some things up with the combination of that defense, if Jimmy can somehow improve, if we can get more efficiency out of the run game to help set up play action and some more deep shots downfield, because one of the things that I did notice is that at least Jimmy was taking some shots downfield, opposed to years past where he wouldn't. So I do have to give him that credit because he was at least taking shots downfield in some instances, which goes against the grain. It's just we need him to take them in the right instances. When they are squatting on the in breaking routes, that's when we need to take the deep shots. That's how I see it. So clearly, Jimmy didn't seem too thrilled with the play calling. He didn't execute to the best of his ability. The offensive line clearly didn't execute to the best of their ability. They weren't really able to get the run game picked up. So we understand that if this team can run the football, everything else kind of falls into place because the rhythm of this team is built off the run game. And then we get play action. When that some of their play action that they had in this game was really nice. They had some really nice play action. But it's when they kind of get away from those things, they can't run the football, then they're forced to pass, and then it's just like feels disjointed. They got to find a rhythm. They did it before. The question is, can they do it again? Their backs are against the wall. 49er faithful. I don't think if you polled the 49er faithful, I really don't think, too many people believe that Kyle can turn this around. Because I think when we look at it, we're looking at this in the sense of this is on Kyle. Kyle's got to figure out the offense. Kyle's got to figure out how to make this work, how to make this efficient, how to get this going. I think a lot of people don't believe he can. Let's see. I actually did a poll. Speaking of polls, where is it? So I asked, are the 49ers still a playoff team? 31% said yes. 27% said no. 39% they are if there needs to be a Y there. If they figure out if the offense if the oh no, I just can't read. They are if the offense figures it out. 39% said that, and then 3% said they are, but my confidence is wavering. So 25%, 27% just flat out said no, 49ers aren't. 31% still believe they are. And again, the big figure, 39% still believe that the San Francisco 49ers believe they are a playoff team if they just figure out the offense. So, what are you guys? Do you think that the San Francisco 49ers can still be a playoff team? Do you think they can figure this out? Do you think they can get this back on track? Because although we are have been beaten over the head with negativity surrounding this team, whether it's the quarterback conversations, whether it's the management of the quarterback conversations, it's trickling into the way these teams are losing, and so there's I think a lot of emotion involved. But if they can just figure this out, I think there's still hope. I do. Because you also have to keep in mind there are other teams that are still trying to figure this out as well. So the hope is that whatever we perceive as fans and how it's going isn't the how it is internally. And I do think that's how it is. I think us as fans, we're going to be quick to write them off. We're going to be quick to be like the sky is falling. It might feel like the sky is falling, but it's too early, in my opinion, to declare that the sky is falling. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Do I have my concerns? Of course. Do I love how they performed week 3? No. Do I love kind of this back and forth quarterback carousel thing that we got going? No, but that doesn't change the fact that there's still talent on this team. They still have a ton of weapons. Kyle and Jimmy got to figure this out. Not only do they got to figure it out, but the offensive line has got to start to gel more consistently. And if they do and get back to the running football that we know they're capable of, even with being down Elijah Mitchell, even being down TDP, you got Jeff Wilson. You have guys like Marlon Mack and Jordan Mason. Let's see what they got. Let's see what they got. So I think we really, truly got to look at this from a sense of, can the San Francisco 49ers win 10 games? Do you think this team can win 10 games? You've got the Rams next week. And again, coach was on last night or yesterday. Shout out, coach. And I think he said it best. We got to be week to week with this team in regards to expectations. I don't think as of now the expectation should be they're going to be in the playoffs. The expectation should be they're going to run the table. The expectation that they're going to figure it out. They got to prove it to us, right? And I think that's what coach said. And I think he said it best. They got to prove it to us, but I think they are capable of proving it to us. And it starts next week against the Rams. But when you look big picture and you look at the Rams, Panthers, Falcons, Chiefs, Rams again, you get a bye week, week 9, probably going to get some players back around heading into week 10. So that kind of feels like the week you're going to get Elijah Mitchell back. You're going to get Trent Williams back. You're going to get some of these guys back. So week 10 around the Chargers game. Then you go to Mexico, Cardinals. You got the Saints, the Dolphins, Bucks, Seattle, Washington, Raiders, and finish with the Arizona Cardinals. If the 49ers make it out of this with 10 wins, I think they're in the playoffs. Now, is that the expectation? No. I don't expect anything anymore because we're week to week. We are week to week. We're going into the Rams. We're going to see what this team looks like against the Rams. And then we will then reevaluate. We will readdress and we will look at and see, okay, did they win? Did they lose? If they won, all right. What does that mean for the next week? What does that mean for the totality of the year? So we got Rams next week. We got Ramley Sports Report in the building. Says 3 games into the season, Kyle Shanahan's record as 49ers head coach has only gotten worse. He's now 40-44. Yeah, I don't really care about the overall record at this point. I care about what's in front of us. And what's in front of us is the Rams. And I think the 49ers, we know they match up well against the Rams, but it's not about just matching up. It's not about just matching up. You got to go out there and execute and get it taken care of. So I think now we can take all our expectations for the year and all the hopes and the aspirations of the Super Bowl caliber narratives. We just throw them in the trash and we don't worry about that. And we say, okay, what are we going to get next week against the Rams? And then we make our next evaluation from that point on. Last week wasn't great, disappointing effort from the offense. Everything just fell off. Who's at fault? Don't know. It's someone inside that locker room, inside that building that will figure out why they weren't able to execute on offense. But I do believe there's a big time opportunity for them to get back on track against the Rams. So let's see. Perfect opportunity for Daniel Brunskill revenge tour. So what is going to be interesting to see is if they make any changes to the offensive line. I don't know if it's quite there yet, but I think it could be close. Um, so we'll see. We will definitely see about that. If you guys have any last questions, comments that you want to get in here, feel free to drop them in the chat. Hopefully, I was kind of looking at the chat. I can't tell if we had a good one or a rough one today in the chat, but I do know I think there's an opportunity for us to get it right. Brunskill to center potentially. I think there's an opportunity for Brunskill to play either center or right guard. I think both are potential opportunities. Because, like I said, I do think Burford is going to be a very good offensive lineman. Right now, he's missing some assignments, and it feels like it's kind of creeping up. It feels like there's a little bit more assignments being blown. Again, doesn't mean I don't think it's worthy of being benched, but it's going to be interesting to see what the 49ers decide to do, especially with a guy like Brunskill who has so many starts under his belt, and we know what to expect from him. So we'll see. Uh, did anyone replace McDaniels? Yes. He Chris Forster, the offensive line coach, kind of took over as the run game coordinator. So McDaniels was a run game coordinator / OC, but he is no longer. I don't know if I seriously overrated Brunskill because I think the San Francisco 49ers are missing Brunskill immensely right now. And I think that's kind of proven my point with Brunskill, which is why I think we could see him starting now that he's healthy. You have to remember he got hurt preseason week 1 in the middle of a competition for the center spot. Who knows who the starting center would have been week 1 if Brunskill was healthy. Brunskill got hurt preseason week 1 and, trying to learn, again, a new position. And you're seeing right now why Brunskill is being missed, um, for sure. Uh, Aaron Banks is our best lineman right now after Trent. I You might be right. You might be right. Banks had a bit of a down game as well, but he also played better than I think a lot of the other guys. So, hey, we knew it was going to be a tough road um, for this offensive line, for this offense. So the hope is that they can build some more continuity. Who knows if a shuffle is coming? Um, but we'll see. Ultimately, it's such a simple thing, right? It comes down to uh, playing, just being assignment sound, doing your job, executing. Gotta execute. Gotta execute. Burford's not bad at all. I don't think Burford's bad. I think Burford is a very talented player. But you gotta play. You gotta be assignment sound. You can't blow assignments because then you render the talent useless. So you gotta play your game. Gotta play your game. Colton McKivitz Hive, yeah, about to turn up. So, hey, I know we talk a lot. This week has just been a rough week in regards to just talking about like what isn't working with the San Francisco 49ers. There isn't a ton working with the offense right now, but I do believe they can get it on track. They I'm gonna rest my hat on the fact that they've done it. They did it before. They look like absolute dumpster fire last year through the first 8 games of the year. So, I gotta give them personally more time. I got understanding that they went into this year with a plan for Trey Lance, instantly had to scrap that week 2. Now they gotta reevaluate with a guy that, let's face it, the NFL knows what's coming from a Jimmy Garoppolo led offense. So what other things can they do? How can they continue to adapt? How can they The biggest thing though is fundamentally. They just got to fundamentally get better. Do the small things right. That's it. Do the tiny things correct. And then everything else should fall into place. So, I'm not out yet. I'm not out yet. I have been emotional this week, I will admit. Um I, I'm I'm definitely getting a little bit of fatigue for sure, but it's only week 3. We got a long season ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and let's again take it 1 week at a time. And we got the Rams next week. Soon we will transfer our energy into what it's going to take to beat the Rams and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you guys continuing to rock with me. I appreciate those who are attempting to keep the vibes up in the chat and trying to keep a positive outlook and instead of just throwing your hands up in the air and saying everything is over and it's ruined, because the fact of the matter, it's not ruined, it's not over. There's still plenty of football left, and we have to remind ourselves that even though last Sunday night was terrible, it doesn't define this team. And we got to keep that momentum rolling and turn the page and let's whoop these Rams, because that's got to be the rallying cry within that locker room. Screw what we did last week. Last week was a joke. let's use that and let's kill these Rams because we hate these Rams and we want to take them down. That's the vibe, and I think they can. I think they can get this back on track, 100%. So again, shout out to everyone. Shout out to all the SDS. Shout out to all. Yeah, we see you, Deb. We got to stay optimistic. It's not time yet to hit the panic button. I promise you. It is not time yet, even with Jimmy Garoppolo, even with Kyle Shanahan, with how much is being made of those two. It is way too early to hit the panic button. I promise you. Now, it doesn't mean we know what the outcome will be next week, but as it stands right now, it is way too early. Is there room for concerns? Is there room for there to be like, yes, there is. So we aren't alienating anyone. There's reasons to be concerned, but there's also reasons to be optimistic. And we'll see how it goes next week on prime time. This next week against the Rams is a big pride game. Like, say what you want. All these players are prideful. Any single person in the NFL has pride. They have a legacy they want to uphold and they want to maintain. It is time to show the world that the San Francisco 49ers aren't to be punked. All right? We got punked offensively, whether it was our own doing or whatever. Turn that shit around against the Rams. Throw your middle fingers up in the air to anyone who doubts you, anything, and go get this dub against the Rams. And then we're back on track. And we are back to discussing football the way it should be discussed. So stick around. It's not time yet. But again, appreciate all you guys. 100%. Beat LA. Even my guy, the Ramley Report. Let's go. We need a yes, sir. We need a victory Monday. We need a victory. We need a victory Monday. We need a victory Tuesday as well. So shout out to all the SDS. Smash that like button. We'll see how everything turns out, but keep your chin up, faithful. We got this. Home game, LA. Whoop them. Let's go. Smash that like button. We're out of here. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.